You ready?
Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Merrimack Town Center Committee on January the 6th, 2023, our first meeting of 2023. And we're assembled here in the Matthew Thornton Room of the Merrimack Town Hall. Everyone has an agenda. And our first item on the agenda is the preparation of is the designation of a minute taker. And could I thank, thank you, Michael Redding. Michael does a super job with keeping our minutes and has kept us honest and recorded all the key items every time. So I'm very glad that you're here today, Michael, and I think this is a very important meeting for us as we go forward. The Karen Freed is excused today. She called and said she could not make it. I don't know about Matt, where he is. Maybe he'll show up. And Finley will be a little late. He is presently detained by the town manager, so we may see him later in the morning. Our first order of business is approval of minutes. We have some back minutes, which I distributed earlier this week. One is for the minutes of September the 30th, 2022. These minutes were amended at the request of one of our members who wanted some more detail added on a few items that were left out of those meetings, of those minutes. And so, first of all, I'll ask Karen if she's okay with the revised version.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, good. And is there any other if there are no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Okay, I motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, second, Bill Wilkes. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, Wilkes abstains, others in favor.
Only abstaining because I don't think I was here for that meeting.
Okay, that's good reason. And the next set of minutes we have to approve are the minutes of our last meeting, which was on November 18th, I believe. November 18th. And what's the pleasure of the board with regard to those minutes?
I motion we approve the minutes of November 18th, 2022.
I second that.
Moved by Bill Wilkes and seconded by Karen Contos. Any discussion of those minutes? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed or abstaining? All in favor. Okay, that takes care of that. That will make our town clerk happy because they filed these minutes as part of the annual report. They had to go in. Next on our agenda is old business discussions. And the first thing I have listed here is any actions we wanted to take in response to the high school traffic plan that was presented to us on November 18th. You may recall we had a presentation by
Steve Keach.
Steve, thank you, Steve Keach, and it was quite lengthy and took up the whole meeting. And we never discussed afterwards whether we as a committee wanted to take any position on that. Did we want to advise the school board that we think it's a great idea or not a great idea, depending on how we feel, and give support to that, to the adoption of it. As you know, it's got several glitches in there as far as getting action by the town meeting. The school district meeting has to act on some of those things, but it may be helpful to them to have a support from this committee. And before I did that, I thought we'd discuss it here.
Nelson, I'd like to add something.
Yes.
I think the plan was excellent. The presentation was excellent. I think it's a great first step in master planning that transition, tying it into our purpose. Certainly, it achieves the goal of connectivity, and makes it more of a walkable community. So I definitely commend that. I didn't really see anything regarding, bicycle access and how that might be handled, because there are kids that still do that, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with the electric bikes coming forward. I'm seeing actually those there, more so being an owner of myself. So that would be something maybe we comment about. I think the most important comment is about the turning access from Babusick Lake Road into both Agera and McElwain. I think we
Yeah.
had some discussion about that, and it wasn't really addressed as part of the traffic plan, but it was more of kind of like, well, it needs to have others involved with that. And I think that's a critical piece that doesn't get lost,
Uh-huh.
because there's no owner for that,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I know, like, what was it? Steve said something like, "Oh, Kyle, if you're talking with the consultant, mention that he needs to do this and move that pole." And it's like, okay, there's a lot of who's doing what, and I didn't like that. I felt like someone needs to either step forward and champion that effort, or call it out enough so that it doesn't get forgotten. As folks like Kyle and others, transition out, we're going to
Yeah.
have that, and so this is going to take a while for this to happen, and I hate to see that get lost,
Yeah.
especially with things that are being so actively designed right now by DOT. So,
Yeah.
So is that, are we talking about it like a decel lane for that right turn in? Or is it not, is a decel lane too extravagant? Or are we just talking about
they mentioned about
making it
widening.
wider or something?
It was on the O'Gara Drive, right? Is that? Yeah, it was
That's
on
the
O'Gara
dri-
Drive.
yeah.
Widening that entrance and exit, so that you could turn in easier and that you could turn out easier. Yeah.
It's that right turn in and
And you
then,
have a right turn in,
And
and you're not waiting for the buses that want to go left. Because right now, a bus that comes there and wants to go left stops. There's a traffic person there at those hours, and he'll stop that bus.
Yeah.
And that stops all the traffic behind it, even those that want to go west.
Yeah.
So we could certainly point that out as an issue that should be considered further.
Yep.
And if that's the wish of the board,
well, there's also, I mean, this is really not our responsibility or issue, but there's a lot of assumptions about that new admin building, in my opinion.
yeah,
I mean, that's a little bit of a pie in the sky concept from a standpoint of a taxpayer. Nobody's seen any plans, nobody's knows the magnitude of the cost, alternatives. I mean, everybody says, oh, and the school department says that's the place to put it, but I'm not sure it's a slam dunk. So, I mean, and that affects that plan too, because they make the assumption that you're going to put the school admin building by I guess where the skate park is. Or,
that was what he presented to us
Yeah.
as his recommendation. Remember, his report is just a recommendation to
Right.
the school board. But I guess you'd like to revisit that, or
well, I'd like to know what would be the alternative if they did not put it there.
yeah,
I mean, how does that affect parking, sidewalks? Is there an alternative plan if you did not put the school administration building? Let's just say hypothetically, there's some kind of turnover, the police department changes and moves somewhere else, and now that building becomes available, and somebody has this great idea of maybe that could be the new replacement for the blue house or the red house or whatever color the house is. Now you're not going to put the school administration building there. How does that affect the traffic and the sidewalks and the parking and all that sort of thing?
I don't think it would have too much of an effect. to
Well,
be
it-
honest,
it-
but
it
that'd
would-
be my opinion.
It would create an empty space there.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Hi, Finley. Yeah.
I just don't think you can assume that you're gonna, that the taxpayers are gonna be willing to pay for that building necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
The timing, I mean, it's just not clear to me, like, I haven't even seen that on a ballot, and I don't think it's going on the ballot this year.
Well, it's not. It's
So-
not. Yeah.
You know, how far out are we talking about for that building, and how would that affect this plan with or without it? Or with it, I guess, is provided, but without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my impression was that the issues that are really about parking, and then just having better flow so that there's efficiency with drop-offs are the two main issues that they're trying to address. So being more efficient with pavement, he talked about that, and so we actually have a net gain with regards to non-impervious with the same amount of parking. But then that whole scheme of dropping off and having the right type of lanes to be able to do that without holding people up, I think was the first and foremost. I feel like this admin building is simply just like you're saying, Bill. It's an unfinished thought. Everybody wants it from a
Well,
school
the school
side
department
perspective.
wants it.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
not sure the taxpayers want it.
Yep. And so, and I don't think that it affects that concept other than that area down there and its use. And it almost seems like it's tangential to the real issue. It doesn't even seem like it's part of this issue and this traffic plan that they're trying to put together, in my opinion.
Okay, what would we like to advise the school board on this? If we could draft something to the effect that further work in that area needs to be done.
We recognize that it's an unfinished
It might
plan.
have,
Yeah,
it might affect just that entrance area, even if it doesn't have a great effect on that space that we're talking about, it might affect the widening of that entrance and so forth, if you did not have the building there.
that building, really wouldn't, the block is the unknown property. It used to be the not a psychiatrist, but it was a
Optometrist,
optometrist. Is it an optometrist now? Okay.
it was, that was,
Chiropractic, yeah.
Chiropractor is what it, yeah.
yeah.
So maybe we're getting into areas that we don't want to go.
Yeah, it's certainly not our purview, but certainly can comment. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll draft something and have us all look at it and see if you want to. I'll go with that. Finley, welcome.
My apologies, Nelson, and I wish I was here because I do sit on the school district planning and building committee that's
Oh,
had
good,
discussion about
good,
this. So I'm
yeah.
out of the loop completely because I just obviously walked in. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well,
Finley,
Finley, we were basically talking about, or I brought it up, you know, there's some assumptions that, or there's a lot people in the school department that would really like to have the admin building over by the skate park. But I asked the question, what if that didn't happen? If some alternative became available, and I did say the police department potentially, if the police move somewhere else to a, what do we call it?
Safety complex.
Safety complex, would the school administration, you know, maybe look at that building? I don't know. But my only point was that if you didn't have that building there, how would that affect parking and sidewalks and that sort of thing?
Right. I've had that. Did you want to hold on for a second?
yes, we have some distinguished visitors, which I did not expect, but welcome.
Well, we didn't expect you. Thank you for having us.
You're gonna go to the mic. Sorry. You've been dying to say that, right?
Today is a very special day in the town of Merrimack for one person. who's given us 17 years of his career. We're very appreciative of him. We want to thank Kyle for his years of service. I know he doesn't want to be recognized, but
You
we
have
do
many
want to
now.
present him with this honor because I do have the chair and vice chair at this meeting. So Kyle, we wanted to present you with this plaque for your dedication. I want to thank you for your service. Yes. You'll be sorely missed on this committee and a lot of other things. You have
lot
done
of things.
wonders for the town. You have given the town your all. Without you, we probably wouldn't have had most of our bridges replaced by now. You have worked as an engineer. You worked at our DPW operations manager and as our DPW director. You're going to be missed. And we want to just wish you the best in your career moving forward. And remember, you always have a home in Merrimack.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
And thanks, Nelson, for that, letting me interrupt your meeting.
That's quite all right. It's certainly an interruption I'm sorry we had to make, and I'm sorry for Kyle's leaving. He's been a great asset to this committee from the beginning. We've worked with him. He's helped us with cost estimates and with actual implementation, and he's built some of the real sidewalk that we have in place. And so I'm very grateful for his service, and thank you for coming and doing this. And Nancy, did you want to have a few words? We've got. For those watching at home, Mr. McKaylee is the town manager for the town of Merrimack, and Nancy Harrington is chairman of
Vice
the
chair.
vice chair.
Chair is right there.
Okay, the chair. Okay. Well,
We
anyway.
know that Kyle wanted to keep it a low profile. So Paul and I went down to your office to be able to have a little informal kind of, well, you lost. Because we found you were here. And it was a perfect opportunity, not only for obviously the people here, but also the community, to see that we value your ability to help this town grow over the past 17 years. And we want to thank you for that. But also wish you all best in your future.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. Yeah.
Can I say something? Maybe this is an
Okay.
appropriate time. I wasn't gonna say
Join
anything.
us.
I was gonna wait to the end of the meeting. I didn't know this was happening. I just wanted to thank Kyle because Kyle has been so supportive of me and my department, particularly at the beginning of the pandemic. And even before then, I feel like Kyle, we've worked together for quite a while. I've been with the town for 18 years. Kyle, when did you become department head?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. And I think it's reasonable to say that Kyle had met a very different version of Nick LaValle when he first became the department head, and he's seen me through a lot of professional growth, and he was part of that professional growth. When it comes to town departments and our social media presence, Kyle has really led by example, very similar to the police department, and he's demonstrated ways to use social media and connect to residents. That's very admirable, and also in ways that I still use to this day. So I wanted to thank Kyle for that, all that help and support through the past couple of years.
Okay.
So thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Nick.
So you got more than what you bargained.
Okay. You're right.
I guess I should have followed Colin's advice.
Yep.
What was
Which
that?
was
To not come to
Not
this meeting.
sure.
He's in the control room, man.
Well, thanks for showing, and thanks for showing all the times you did show that didn't get on TV as anything special. And thank you, Nancy and Paul, for doing this. Yeah. And Nick too. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, we'll go back to the agenda, and I'll just say that we were on item number 4A, which was any action that this board wanted to take in response to the presentation we were given in November on the master plan for this high school entrance area. And that was an agenda item, and that's what we were discussing when you came in.
Well, I'm glad I caught the tail end of it because I
Yeah,
have little
yeah.
pieces to put into what I just
Yeah.
heard, and that I brought that up to the committee, planning and building committee, of the possibility of the utilization of the police station.
Yeah.
The size of the building is adequate to house the SAU as well as the the blue building and the green building. Yeah,
The
special ed.
red building.
Yeah, yes.
The red building too.
And, yeah, and they, the only comment was from one of the members who thought that the fit up would be as much as building a new building. And I disagree with that. If it's a school, if you're trying to utilize it for classrooms, that gets a little expensive because there's so much that might have to be changed in order to make it work for size of rooms and, you know, and everything. Classrooms have sizes they should be and all kinds of things. This is going to be office space predominantly. And it was pointed out by Pat Heinrich, who's our minute taker, that the ADA rules, you know, I thought you could put one floor for one floor for the, you know, for the administrative side. And she said, because it's in one building, you need an elevator. And, you know, this discussion didn't get real formal at all. It was just thrown out on the table. As far as what impact it would be if it didn't go there, I don't know that it would have any major impact. The road is in the entrance to to O'Gara is impacted by the Quimby House, the chiropractor's
Yeah,
office now, and that would be the limitations. Kyle had mentioned at one point that the construction of the Babusk Lake Road overpass over the Everett Turnpike would be taken into account that lead up to it. And so that's when discussions might happen of putting a turn lane if possible. I don't know if the road would shift, but that's, you know, so as far as that property, I don't know, they could use it for much of anything. The roadway would not, I think, would not impact that property there. I don't imagine. I think they would continue the path that it currently runs. But, and so that's, the discussion was relatively limited.
The only,
I'm
if I
sorry.
could just jump in on that, but the only, out of the box crazy option is if there isn't enough room in front of the chiropractor's office to sneak a turn lane in from Babusak, because that is a problem every morning.
Yeah.
Would be the crazy concept of coming further back before the chiropractor, coming through the school property where the skate rink used to be. And connecting to O'Gara there is a right turn lane in.
Yeah, that's
Obviously more expensive to do so. Crazy concept. But
Would
that's what we
involve
do in
space.
public works is crazy
Yeah,
concepts.
pick up the
But
best
And
thing.
you figure out what the best alternatives are. But
but that's
that-
a safe turn. That's a very safe, a
absolutely.
right
yeah.
only.
It
is
would,
a
it would
very-
definitely increase
That's
capacity.
a very safe turn.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But to Michael's point, there is no champion for that, any of those concepts. And somebody from the town will need to work with the state and the school to bring all of those pieces together.
We as a committee could point that out if we wish to wade in on that, or do we want to just remain silent? Right at the moment, we're just remaining silent as a committee, as a town center committee.
I mean, you kind of open up, let's call it a bag of worms. But I wasn't totally convinced from Steve Keach about, and I brought it up because I thought it was a safety issue, about the way they were going to open up the parking.
Yeah.
The way it is now, you can't get out of first
Yeah.
gear. But the way they were going to open it up, and he said something about speed bumps or some kind of,
Yes,
what did he
did.
call those, Kyle?
Speed humps.
Speed humps, speed bumps.
So,
And,
tables.
I'm not sure a 17-year-old, might adhere to those and might think it's a neat jump or something like that. So I wasn't totally sold on that concept too, but that's just my personal opinion.
Well,
I've-
maybe
I've
we
seen
just
that-
want to remain silent and let the school board wrestle it out. Maybe that's a better way. There are parts about it that we like and parts about it we think need more consideration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, shall I
Why don't you go ahead and put something that you think would be appropriate
bring it?
together?
Yeah,
And then we can discuss that in February and then
Yeah.
make the choice of whether that's
That's a good suggestion,
Okay.
Michael. Yeah, I want to move on because we do have a number of items on our agenda that we want to continue to consider. The town center map we revised, and you've all had comments on it. That's the sidewalk map. I gave you the new handout, which shows all the changes that you've made in the new handout. And in the map, you'll notice is dated December 2022. And so that's progress, if you will. It brings everything up to date in that map. At the moment, you can see the places that have not been built, and those are the things we'll be working on and talking about as we go forward. So I have nothing more to say except that NRPC gave me a big map too. I didn't bring it up because it was raining. I didn't want to get it wet, but we have a big one for show and tells or for any of our public information booths. I think I got all your comments into that map. Thank you. The next item on the agenda today is the status of the Sahegan River Trail. And for that, I'm going to turn to Kyle for his final official duty here.
Thank you, Nelson. So the River Trail, you recall last month I reported that we opened bids. We only had one bid that was not responsive. So we had to go back to the drawing table. We've got a contract amendment approved by DOT to rebid the project. That should be finalized by the town today, so we can get the consultants working on that. And basically, what we've changed from a working day, from a calendar day concept for the project to a working day concept, which basically what that means is we'll still have a completion date. But instead of just saying a completion date and you have this period of time to do the project, we're giving them the same amount of time to accomplish the project. We're just moving the completion date out to 2024 so that they can free up their schedule and in 2023 and then be able to work on it at the end of 23 into 24. And we think by doing so, we're going to get more bidders attracted to the project. So the anticipation is that the project will advertise towards the end of January for bid. There'll probably be a 5-week or so
Bid period.
period,
Yeah.
and then bids will open in February. And hopefully we get a successful bidder.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we have the construction engineering proposals all approved as well. Once we get a successful bidder, Bruce or whoever the next public works director will be able to just do all the paperwork associated with that to get the project inspected, and we should be ready to go. So, and certainly when you have the ribbon cutting, Nelson, send me an invite.
I will.
Because I will be there.
I will. I want you there.
We've been working on this for a couple of years now.
A couple of years, 2016, I think. is when-
2014.
2014 is when
Yeah.
we first got approved for
Yeah.
this.
So I'm eagerly anticipating this to be constructed.
Yes. I should have mentioned at the beginning of our meeting today, and I neglected to mention, that Kyle is leaving the town of Merrimack, and this may be the first official announcement of it to the public through this media, through the media that we're recording this meeting on. And in addition to that, Don Twamala is leaving, I understand as well.
Yep.
And I understand the leader of the wastewater treatment plant.
Sarita. Yep.
Samantha is leaving the town of Merrimack, so it's not really our job to announce that, but it all ties into what we're doing and trying to do here. So thank you and thank them for their service to
Will
the
do.
town. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the Sahegan River Trail from the board?
I have one.
Yes.
Kyle, with that new concept of workday completion based, does it create a start and stop segment where it exposed like vulnerability to the project? Like, will they have to complete a certain segment in whole before they can basically call for a stop?
So there always is that potential when you go to a working day concept.
Yeah.
One of the things we're building into the bid documents is either a 7-day or a 14-day requirement for the contractor to give notice to the town and to the consultant of starts and stops, so that there's time for the consultant to react to personnel changes, because they need to staff the projects.
Yeah.
But B, so that the consultant would have time to make sure if they are leaving the property, like if they don't do it all at once, that they leave the property in a state where it's safe for the public to utilize the park.
Right. Or doesn't leave the project exposed to damages, right? So when they
Correct.
come back, right? if
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
Connections that are sensitive to weather or whatever, or something
Right.
like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that would certainly be part of the environmental documents as well.
Okay.
Like anything they disturb, of course, has to be stabilized if they were to consider leaving the project for any time. And
Okay.
And certainly the once the contractor lands, it's their project. So it's their insurance, their responsibility. So
Okay.
they're sort of compelled to take care of
Do
it
it right.
anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Kyle. The next, if no one has any further questions on the Sahegan River Trail, we're going to talk a little bit about the status of the Facebook page and how that's coming together. We had good reports at the end of last year. Nicholas, do you have anything to add? Any news from that front?
Yeah, well, we actually have picked up 100 followers this calendar year, so we're up to 550 followers now to that page. That's a 20% increase. 80% of which live in Merrimack. That's interesting. That there's 20% of folks who follow that page that don't live in town. So I can reasonably assume maybe that's folks in other communities that want to pay attention to, what's happening here in Merrimack. Maybe apply that to their own towns, or maybe it's town employees. I don't know, but
I haven't gotten a call for a job offer or anything.
no. And also, not to make this meeting, the Kyle Fox show or his swan song, but I wouldn't be on this committee if it weren't for Kyle. Kyle was real encouraging and a big supporter of having the media division represented on this committee. It came out of I think just kind of a candid conversation we had in my office about, how other departments use the media division. And Kyle had this idea, so blame him or thank him. I don't know, however you want to look at that. But, and then also this map that I'm looking at here, is this the final map?
Well, it's never final till it's final till we make the next one.
Final for now. Okay.
Final for
So
now,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
that sitting in my email, I think, because you'd sent it in November, just before the holidays started.
Yes, it's
Right.
the same map.
Same map.
It's
Okay.
just now been put into the trifold.
Okay.
See, that's a new trifold for handouts
Right.
by the committee members, or we've got more available anytime. If we have a public presentation or something, we'll give them out.
So I'd love to be able to post that image to the Facebook page today, if everyone's in agreement with that.
Have at it.
Then I'll do that.
Have at it.
And then
Will
I
that
could
also get on the website too, the town website?
I can forward that to Jonathan
Okay.
or the town manager's office, and they can update that for sure.
That'd be a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I can lead right into the next portion of the agenda, unless Bill has anything else to add in terms of the Facebook page. And as I always say, if there's anything that anyone from this committee would like to see posted, just kind of holler at me, whether you want to give me an email or give me a call, or if you think there's anything, or if there's anything I should share off of the Department of Public Works page. Really anything you see relevant to the town center that, that you'd like shared on that, whether that's a piece of media from somewhere else or something another town department's posted. If anyone wants to just kind of give me a heads up, or then I'll make sure that happens.
I mean, just to generate more content and interest, Nick? Is there anything we can do with the Wire Road concept as it pertains to sidewalks and all that sort of thing? I mean, is there
Yeah,
mean,
well, we just
maybe
finished.
like a little 5 minute or 3 to 5 minutes, something about,
It will be interesting to see what comes out of the public hearing on January 12th. So if there's anything to come out of that, whether it's public comment or anything brought up at that meeting, discussion with the council, we can isolate clips from that meeting into a Merrimack in Motion and post to the town center page. That's a great idea. Before that, as I had mentioned earlier, before the meeting started, my staff just finished a video about the Wire Road Route 3 project and to promote the January 12th public hearing. So Kyle and Bruce will sign off on that this afternoon. And if they do, I'll post that. I'll schedule it to post either this weekend or Monday or right away, however we want to do that. So, but yeah, I think that that's such a big project. And since it's located right in the town center, whatever we can do to keep residents informed and or share, you know, give residents a space to share their comments and concerns. It's a good thing to do. So
I have one comment. And
Yes.
maybe this ties back to the old planning board days, Nelson, but that building that is being refurbished into, I think, a restaurant right there by the library, right? Is that what its purpose is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
I don't know how much people know about that. I'm wondering if that would be an item to at least highlight as to what's going on and what that is intended to be. Does that have any bearing on our presentation here?
I don't know how Nick feels about taking on a particular project of the planning board. That project has been in the works, by the way, for at least 3 years.
yeah, also it would kind of have to come from a planning board or community development perspective, because content that we produce shouldn't necessarily be commercial in nature. So there's a gray area in producing content like that. I think that I'd have to get Tim Thompson, the community development director, on board for that. I personally would love to see more content that's driven by the community development department. Many years ago, we would record a show almost on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis with the community development director that would detail previous agenda items from planning board, zoning board, and kind of highlight the different projects that were happening around town. I'd love to see that happen again. It's not everyone is, not every department head is as willing to be on camera to discuss that sort of information. Not that I ever had to twist Kyle's arms too much. But certainly folks like Sarita and Diane Trippett, you know, other town department heads have been pretty quick to get in front of the camera, but I'd like to see something like that happen for sure. Maybe that's a phone call to Tim.
I mean, not to get involved in whatever's going on with that building, but Church Street, is there any, maybe I'm behind, but is there any more talk about Church Street and closing that down and all that sort of thing? Because
I'll
that
give you
could be something that,
I'll give you a report on that when we come to my part. We're still trying, this committee still believes that Church Street has to be dead-ended to accomplish our sidewalk projects on Route 3. By dead-ended, I mean it will not connect down to Route 3. You look puzzled.
I'm just deep in thought.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So that's been this committee's position, is that in order to build the sidewalk there, we'll have to dead end Church Street up above. This has some detractors. I'll talk about it more later because it's kind of a separate problem, but that's been our position, right? Up till now. And we've written letters to the town council asking them to consider that. And it's really in the hands of the town council to discontinue that piece of road. And for safety reasons, we had, well, it's a separate subject. Let me leave it like that for now.
Is it fair to say that the sidewalks that the town center committee intended to have part of the town center, some of them are dependent on what happens with Route 3 Wire Road intersection?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
If it's a rotary, it's a different challenge, I think.
Well, yeah. The answer to his question was yes, and let's leave it there and get into rotaries. But,
And the project, what's the timeline for that project?
for the Wire Road project,
Yes.
well, Kyle's going to talk about that in a little bit. He's on the agenda here for let me see here, number
So-
4F.
But creating content relative to those sidewalks is entirely dependent on what happens, what's decided with.
I think you stay with the presentations that are made. I think you're up to date with that. And
Okay.
let's see how all this presentation goes and how the council comes out of it and what they decide. And there's a lot of moving parts here. And I think if you just stay a little behind and record what we have for factuals would be all right, rather than try and postulate. rotaries.
I'll be able to provide some clarity
Okay.
when we
Yeah.
get to the.
Would it be
agenda
fair to
item.
say, and I'll move on after I ask all these questions that we're going to talk about again in 10 minutes anyhow.
Yeah.
But would it be fair to say that that project is one of the more projects of public interest going on in town right now?
I would think.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Surely will be.
I mean, just to back up to why we get on this discussion. You put a line item on this agenda every month about the Facebook page.
Yeah,
We need content in order to keep people interested in the Facebook page. And I think that's kind of where he's trying to ferret out what kind of content we could either come up with, create new that might be interesting to people for Facebook. So I know we're talking about a lot of different things here, but to back up, we got to have interesting content to put on that pertains to the town center.
Right.
yeah, and I think.
And
I
I'm
think he's got
I'm
some-
thinking out loud right now with the committee.
Yeah, the public hearing that will happen next week
Yeah,
will open up, that conversation will open up more
yeah,
to give you better direction, I guess.
Right.
And that discussion will happen. And as far as Church Street, that is going to be a discussion in the near future,
yes.
but not part of
Not
the
part
Wire
of
Road
the Wire Road thing. Yeah.
intersection.
Yeah.
Then I would say that it's probably very important that we use the town center Facebook page over the course of the next few weeks to keep residents informed on this project. I know that the DPW, as I mentioned earlier, the DPW, Kyle and the Department of Public Works has made great use of their Facebook page and the way that they keep residents informed. He's led by that example. So if I'm being told that by the town center committee that this particular project, it affects the town center and it's very much of the public interest, and I will make that a significant priority for us to continue making content relative to this project, no matter what that is, whether that's construction with the restaurant, sidewalks, etc.
Yeah, Nick, do you think you could take a topic like that and carve off enough little pieces to create content over a series of a couple of weeks, right? I think that's where, Bill, you're going, is that do we have a big enough topic that we can create these little snippets of it, right? Similar to maybe even with the new map, could we highlight pieces of it and then every day talk about it, but in a different content to create buzz, right?
Sure.
Interest, yeah. You
Yeah,
feel like
if
you
not
could-
every day, certainly every few days or a couple times or a few times a week, I think would be most appropriate. Yeah.
1 or 2 times
I mean, if you
would
could
be,
get some,
would be something more than, we haven't had a lot of content. I mean,
Right.
well, there, if you could get something together quickly, I don't know what kind of timing you need, because for me, it would take months to do some of the things you guys do. But we had an agenda item, I think it was at the last meeting, about Wire Road intersection and the options that the engineer had brought forward, making recommendations. They actually made a recommendation of the 3 suggestions, but those 3 suggestions, that's what the public hearing is going to be about, coming up next week. So if you wanted to put a precursor out there, this is what will be happening at the public hearing, if you could do that quickly enough, because there's not a lot of time.
That's what we have waiting. That's essentially what we have waiting for approval this afternoon is that kind of video, which
All right, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the committee thinks,
but-
but you could do that, I would think.
But
Yeah.
Mike is right. We could probably, we're about to, with the public hearing, that's another bigger piece of content that we can use to extract, whether it's comments or various pieces of the presentation to keep people informed and potentially get a dialogue going on the page itself, or people, at least people sharing the information as well to their pages.
Yeah.
So,
And that would get people to the public hearing in theory. I mean, if they're seeing it right there and it
Yeah.
piques their interest.
yeah. So over the court, we'll use the video that Kyle's signing off on today to promote that January 12th public hearing, and then make other pieces of content with whatever transpires at that public hearing, and we'll share that information directly on the town center page.
Good, yeah. That gives you some material to work with till our next
Plenty of
meeting.
material, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good, okay, good. And then I wouldn't push the restaurant too hard. Restaurant's been 3 years working and it's still a work in progress. So,
they got it stained.
what?
They got the exterior stained and painted.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
It's a
was
start.
thinking that maybe many people don't even know what's going on. I'm sure they drive by and go, "What is
Yeah.
going on with that
Yeah.
building?" I mean, I think that would be great if the town center committee said, this goes back to a planning board approval, and
yeah.
you don't like it.
Well,
I can see it.
I just don't know where the guy is really going with that restaurant and how it's going to turn out. I just,
But it's Facebook, right? It's
It's-
it's just buzz. We're
It
creating
doesn't have-
buzz and
it doesn't
content.
have to be-
We're not trying to create truth and
doesn't have to
and,
be
and certainty
factual.
here.
What we try to do with all of the town social media presence, and Kyle knows this inside and out, is that we want to do just that. We want to make sure residents feel informed, but then also create engagement,
Yeah.
so that people hopefully become involved.
Right.
And then the other part we think that we try to, we hope to see happen from that engagement that you see online is that people actually participate IRL in real life. We want people getting off Facebook, coming to meetings and involving themselves, whether that's speaking at public comment or joining a board and committee, just like Karen and Mike has. Which I think, Karen, did you join the committee because you were watching it on our channels?
I saw that there were several committee spots available, so I thought this one sounded very interesting. I like the idea of creating walkability and biking, people using the town center, and instead of driving in their car. So
okay,
So
kid.
I'll make that a priority the next week, starting with this first video that we've done.
Okay, I'd like to give Kyle the soapbox for a little bit. I've got the next 2 items here, talking about the status of the of this Wire Road Route 3 intersection, and then also the bridge, which ties in with it.
Yep.
So
Thank you,
Kyle,
Nelson.
Yeah.
So I guess by way of update, it's been mentioned a number of times. For the Wire Road intersection project, the public hearing for the project is going to be on January 12th here in the Matthew Thornton Room at 7 p.m.
7? Okay.
Our consultants will be here again to give a presentation of the 3 alternatives that were investigated. Really 4 alternatives, because do nothing is always an alternative. But the other 3 alternatives were stop controlled intersection, signalized control intersection, and roundabout. And as we saw at the last meeting, and can be seen in the engineering study that's online on the DPW webpage, is that the preferred alternative is the signalized intersection. Kind of the tie-in to this committee, however, so we call it an intersection safety improvement project, but it's really more than that. We are talking about the safety of the intersection and the accidents that occur there because of the geometry of the intersection. But it's also looking at the corridor and specifically multi modal transportation within the corridor, sidewalks. And looking at the plan that we just talked about on the first agenda item, if you look at all of the pink from Twin Bridge Road down to Babusick Lake Road, and this kind of ties in with the next 2 agenda items really, but a big part of it is the Y Road part. All of that pink between those 2 roads is slated to have sidewalks now on both sides of the road because of these 2 projects. So that's really the tie-in for the Town Center Committee, because not only is it a project that the Town Council and Public Works have been promoting for years through our capital improvement program, but it adds the Town Center transportation component of sidewalks and walkability and connection. And that's the real tie-in. And I think that's the part that Nick can use to promote from the Town Center Committee side. This project isn't just about the intersection. It's about the intersection plus this stuff that we really care about.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the tie-in. So
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know if that gives any clarity to the messaging, but I think maybe.
No, it does. And that's just what I want to be careful about. I don't want to put out anything that could mislead or.
Right. And I think you talk about what goes on the Town Center Committee Facebook page. I think the sidewalk component is what goes on.
Right.
The intersection stuff, that belongs on the Public Works page or the town page. The Town Center Committee page really should focus on the Town Center Committee charge, which is that, or what was originally the 2009 master plan.
Yeah.
And that's, and that master plan is what Public Works has used as a tool to enter projects into the capital improvement program that the town council and planning boards approve.
So Kyle, with the sidewalk, is there going to be an additional bike lane then for bicyclists, or do they go on the sidewalk? Or I was just curious about.
No, bicycles don't go on the sidewalks.
Okay.
They stay in the road.
Okay.
There are no bicycle lanes being proposed, primarily due to lack of real estate. The businesses are very close to the road. There simply wouldn't be room to accommodate bike lanes.
Is
You
that
know,
on
is
the
it-
bridge too, though, or just in that intersection area?
Really, the whole corridor.
That whole, okay.
Yeah. Certainly over the bridge, there's virtually no shoulder now. It's basically plus or minus 24 feet wide, which is our normal road width. The new bridge will have 5-foot sidewalks on each side, plus 30 foot of pavement. So it will be a wider cross section for bicycles to use over the bridge. But then on each end, it'll taper back to our standard roadway widths.
Okay, great.
But yeah, so there's some accommodation, but not designated bike lanes.
Now, did you want to speak, Mike, or no? I wanted to mention something to Finley in that at the first public hearing, which was done for the one that was done for the town council, one of the town council members spoke against including sidewalks in this intersection. You know who she is. And I hope that was misspoken or that it was a mistake or that does it have life and wings and
I didn't sense that it did. I didn't sense that at all. So
you didn't sense,
that that it had wings, I thought is what you asked.
well, yeah,
I don't
Okay.
believe I don't believe it does. I mean, the project is funded 80%. Town pays 20%.
Yeah.
It's, though, that whole area is going to be accommodated to a great degree. So it's, that's the time I think it should be done. But we can take advantage of
absolutely,
that.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, I didn't dwell on that piece, so
Well,
polled
jumped
anybody.
out at me
Yeah.
because that's what I look for.
I saw you last night. Is that what you were going to bring?
Yes,
Oh, it was.
yes. I thought there was going to be discussion, and I got there too late to hear his presentation.
It was
last night.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
Budget meeting.
I thought that was a minority opinion, though. I took that as a minority opinion. I didn't take it
Well,
like,
I'm hoping it's a minority opinion, and hope maybe it, like I said, doesn't have legs or
Yeah,
wings.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't sense that. The discussion didn't dwell on it, so, I've never had a conversation with people about
Okay,
that
yeah.
specifically anyhow.
Okay, well, I had to bring it up because it's been gnawing on
Yeah.
me. Right.
Well, those, we'll know Thursday. what direction
Thursday
the
will
council's gonna
be-
going, and,
Will be, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, again, it's, when you have projects like that funded that much, you're gonna be sidewalking both sides of the bridge.
Yeah.
Leading up to it, there's gonna be a purpose in it, and so.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that will happen. I'm pretty confident.
Does it still include a sidewalk going south toward the library? At one time, we talked about including that piece of sidewalk as part of this intersection change, or
Yep, the preferred alternative for the Wire Road project, which is
Yeah.
again the signalized intersection,
yeah,
calls for sidewalks on the west side, picking up where the library sidewalk ends, going north through Wire Road.
okay,
It also includes a provision for a sidewalk on the east side of Daniel Webster Highway. Some of the sidewalk in those areas are in front of businesses that utilize more than a normal curb cut would.
yes,
And I had some conversations with at least one of them, and what we're proposing in the preferred alternative again is in those areas we would do at grade or near at grade sidewalk, so that we're not taking any property rights from anybody.
yeah.
And I think that's an important component to the project.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes, it's
particularly the car dealership.
the car
on the corner
dealership
of-
is the
of
killer.
Babusick
Yeah.
and US 3. I had a conversation with that gentleman,
Yeah,
and he seems satisfied with that.
yeah,
And what we would likely do is most of our sidewalks are asphalt
Mhm.
sidewalks. In that case, it would be a concrete sidewalk where it didn't have curb protection
Mhm.
to give visual definition to the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
yeah,
And certainly more durability
Yeah.
in front of the
Yeah.
dealership, because they'll be driving cars over it as well.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the plan is, and that's what's going to be proposed
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Good, good. That sounds good.
Yeah. And then the bridge part of it, I'll just jump into that.
Go
We'll
ahead.
carry those sidewalks on both the east and west side
Yeah,
through to Twin Bridge Road,
yeah. Excellent, excellent. Yeah.
through the bridge to
Yeah.
Twin Bridge Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Bruce is plugged in on all these conversations.
He is now.
I hope so.
Yeah, we've been working closely together over the past week and a
Yeah.
half to
Yeah,
try and bring
we don't want
him
this.
up to speed. And Bruce has a long history in public works,
Yes,
so he'll be able to jump right in
yeah,
and do really great work for the town.
yeah. No, it's just an opportunity for the property owner to change his mind, which could
Well,
happen. Yeah,
So in the Wire Road project, nearly all of the work is done. The permanent work is within the existing right of ways.
yeah,
There may be some temporary easements
Yeah.
required,
Yeah.
for like back slopes and
Yeah.
constructing driveway matches and stuff like that. But there's no permanent takings anticipated
Yeah.
as part of the Wire Road project.
Okay. How does it handle the Church Street issue?
So at this point, for the public hearing, at my recommendation, we're not talking about Church Street. As once the council and the public selects which alternative to move forward with as part of the final design process,
Yeah.
the consultant knows of the need or the
need.
concern,
Yeah.
and the recommendation of this committee and the Highway
Yeah.
Safety Committee
Yeah.
to discontinue Church Street, and the need to do so if we're going to carry sidewalks through,
Yeah.
which is really what this committee is focused on.
Yeah.
Highway Safety's recommendation was based on just that, the
Yeah.
safety of the intersection itself.
Right.
Had nothing to do with sidewalks or anything else.
Yeah.
They just deemed it an unsafe intersection.
Yeah. Well, there was actually an accident there. A
Right.
kid got hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So as the consultant gets into the final design of the project, they will develop a concept.
Yeah.
You know, I had prepared a concept years ago of what a dead end turnaround would look like up by the Adult
Up at the
Community
top,
Center.
yeah.
Yeah. And it would utilize some of the Adult Community Center parking lot and
Yeah.
the road that goes down to the library.
Yeah.
There's plenty of existing asphalt there for
Yes.
vehicles to turn around.
Yeah.
Particularly emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
And there is a second egress, although it's signed the wrong way. In a pinch,
Library.
if Church Street got closed, people could go through the library parking lot to
Yeah.
get to Babusick. So there,
Yeah.
even though an egress to Daniel Webster is proposed to be discontinued, there are still two methods of egress
Yeah.
from that area,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
So all of that will be addressed in the final design concepts, and Bruce or his successor
Successor.
will work through that, and it's certainly something that I've talked to our consultants about,
Yeah.
and they're aware of it,
They're
and
aware
they
of
will
it,
take
yeah.
it into
Yeah.
account.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not going to be here, it will be
Yeah.
followed through on.
We know where you live.
You do. Yes, I'm not far.
Good. Good. Okay. Any questions or any comments on any of Kyle's stuff here as we coming close to the end of our meeting? But is there anything that?
I think Nicholas talked about time frame. Did you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So project costs. Let me throw that out there.
Yeah.
So the two projects are actually being combined. The Wire Road project is being accelerated to
Yes.
match the bridge project. And that's been in the works over the past year. So the combined price tag on the projects is going to be in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 million for construction. The timing is the construction is proposed for fiscal 2025. So coming up in a couple of years. So it'll be here before we know it. And there's a lot of work engineering wise to meet that guideline. First, we have to complete the engineering study, which will culminate with the picking of a selection next Thursday, hopefully, and then getting approval to move into final design, doing the environmental documents. You've heard me talk about the NEPA document, the National Environmental Policy Act document, which has all of the environmental concerns. Getting that approved. Once that's approved, then the town will get authorization to negotiate easements with the abutters. Although the Wire Road project doesn't have any permanent takings, the bridge project does, and some significant takings.
Yeah. And easements too, for temporary easements. 'Cause
So I say
might have-
takings, that's
Yeah.
another word for easements.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So the town generally only goes after easements.
Yeah.
There won't be any full property takings.
Okay. Yeah.
It'll be easements.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's some significant easements, particularly on the east side of Daniel Webster, which is where the temporary bridge will be located.
Yeah.
So all of that has to happen in the next 2 years to meet that construction schedule.
Yeah.
You said which came first and which is accelerated? Was
The
it the
bridge project was first,
okay?
and the Wire Road project got accelerated.
And that's because the two tie together.
Yeah, there's overlap in the projects, and this is something the town had been asking for a few years of DOT, and we were given a new project manager to work with last year, and when he came down to look at the projects and familiarize himself with the Merrimack projects, he asked me the question, "Why aren't these projects together?" Well, great question. And so having him work from the inside,
Yeah.
it was able to come together, and
Yeah.
because it just made sense. It'll save money on the two combined projects over doing them individually.
And then the Wire Road project specifically may dictate what happens to the Church Street
Correct.
becoming a okay. So Church Street is affected by whatever happens. Wire Road Route 3.
Correct.
No matter what it is, lights, roundabout,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. Depending what the town council decides.
Kyle, yeah, I was going to ask one more question on the this upcoming decision, if you will, on the Wire Road project. Who makes the decision, whether it's a roundabout, a stop sign, or
Ultimately, the town council.
the council makes that decision?
Yeah.
Okay, and they will make it based on this presentation coming up. Is that our understanding?
Yeah, and we've had the presentation,
Yeah.
but the public hearing will happen, and after that input,
And they're prepared to do this, you think? Yeah, yeah.
And I've asked
Yeah.
the consultant, I think part of the confusion in the presentation, we didn't focus the presentation enough on future condition. And I think that was part of the frustration of some of the council, at least, if not all of
Yeah.
the council. So I've asked the consultant to kind of focus more on what the future condition and the need. Because, there is some backup on Wire Road, but it's not like Boston, right?
Yeah.
So people don't look at it.
Yeah.
It's not even like Exit 11 was
Yeah,
before the new signals went in,
yeah,
and still can be.
yeah,
So it's not disabling congestion most of the time,
yeah,
and that's what we're all trained to look for in our projects, right? Because the way the U.S. funds projects is we wait till it's critical or beyond critical to put any money towards something.
yeah. Yeah.
So they're going to focus more on that, and additionally, what I've asked them to focus on is because you hear traffic signal at an intersection, and that means, oh, that's a delay for me.
Stop.
But what they're going to present in hopefully a little more clarity is that, again, trying to not think about just the intersection, try to think about the corridor, and by putting a signalized intersection there, the four intersections being Front Street, Wire Road, Babusick, and CVS will all be connected by microwave technology, and they'll all be in sync. So really what you have to look at is what is your time of delay from Front Street to CVS. And they're still working, or I haven't been given the answer yet, but I think if you look at it in the more global perspective, not just Wire Road, looking at the
Yeah.
corridor, your delay is minimal
Yeah,
due to the addition of signals.
yeah,
And I think that's what they're going to try and present with a little more clarity this time.
yeah, yeah.
Nick, that's a real key thing to hone in on with regards to Facebook. Like that could be multiple content right there. Because we already have it in place at the Exit 11.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and
people,
it was very successful there.
That has
Yeah.
worked.
I was
amazing.
surprised at
Yeah.
just how successful it was.
Yeah.
It all works. I have a fair amount of experience on Amherst Street.
I guess you do.
It all works great until it goes haywire.
But
Until you
and
have
that-
a power outage or
well-
something like that. And it's all good, but somebody has to be in charge of resynchronizing. It
Yeah.
doesn't just, you don't just push a button, sync this up, and it's gonna last forever.
That's right.
When there's some kind of an event, whether it's a power outage or some other computer glitch, it has to be reprogrammed quickly.
Yep.
Otherwise, you've got issues.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Kyle. We're gonna miss you, but maybe Bruce will come to our next meeting. We'll be picking a date for that in a few minutes. We had some new business items that we wanted to talk about. I know Mike Redding has been trying to get some connection with the state DOT, NHDOT, on their potential impact on town center. And Mike, have you got anything to report? I know you tried to, I never saw an answer come back from.
Yeah, so I reached out to Wendy Johnson, I think.
Yeah,
that's
that
correct,
sounds
right,
like
Kyle? I got her name
familiar.
right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So she's the project manager for DOT for the widening. I originally reached out to her, if you recall. My concern was that with the Babusick Lake Brook project, the Wire Road project, and then the Turnpike project, all kind of occurring at the same time, and then the southbound lanes being potentially shut or restricted, and the traffic back up, and people wanting to use Daniel Webster as an alternative, as they do when there's an accident, just led me to thinking, oh my gosh, this could be more than just, it could be very devastating to our downtown. So I wanted to invite Wendy to our meeting to just brainstorm with her and to make sure that she knows of our concerns and to see if there's anything that she can do from her perspective that might help us. So she seemed open to it in her initial response, and she actually seemed surprised that there was this. So it almost informed her, I think, of something that maybe she wasn't aware of. She did say that she would be interested in meeting with us, but we haven't come up with a date. And so I'm trying to invite her to the meeting. And so as soon as I get that feedback, I'll.
Well, now you
Let
got to
you-
get a meeting. The next thing is to get a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I had it on the agenda here. I didn't know where we would be at this point in time. Next item on the agenda was anybody want to talk to that issue or before I didn't mean to bulldoze through here, but it is getting late. What strategy, we had talked about this before on what we, the town center committee, can do to advance some additional help from the town council with regard to some of these gaps that you see in our new map. They have some of the red spots that won't be addressed by these items that we're talking about here, the bridges and intersection where we're getting state aid. What we would like to do to help the town council, and I know Karen has mentioned to me the idea of getting some pieces identified and cost estimated and bring them back to the council with another plea. I will say that in my presentations to them, and we can talk about that at the end here, usually after I make these pleas, I hear crickets, What?
Crooked?
Crickets.
Oh, crickets. We hear
Crickets, I say, we need money.
We hear it. We do hear it.
But nobody makes a sound. So I was trying to see if the center committee had any guidance for me or guidance for us on how we might proceed. One thought that Karen, I think, had advanced was to take these little pieces and price them independently and bring them back with a little price tag on them, and maybe break them into smaller pieces. Do the land survey, do the land so we at least have the land in place when money becomes available. Things of that nature, that we could get help from Public Works.
I didn't know if that was easy to do or not, you know?
Well-
To say, what is the sidewalk, what would that cost from this area to that area?
Yeah, we had some numbers that we used to play around with as dollars per foot, but a lot of it depends on the specific site, on the interaction with drainage. And we ran into that on Woodbury Street. Woodbury Street, the price went way up, but we took care of some serious problems we didn't even know were there as far as drainage and that sort of thing. And so that adds to the cost. And I think, in fairness, we got to put all of that together as little packages. And we need help from Public Works because they're the ones who are going to be having to do it. It's a suggestion. I had a list to bring, and I'm sorry that I did not I made copies of this for everybody and I left them home, so they're not much help, but I can bring them next time. And this is pedestrian and bicycle funding opportunities by the U.S. Department of Transportation, Transit Safety and Highway Funds, September of 2022. And it gives all these different federal things where we can get money. Now, I don't know you don't know all the strings that might be attached, but and I'm sorry, I'll bring it next time and we can talk about it. But or maybe I can mail it even to you. And you know, do we want to pursue this with the town council? The town council doesn't seem interested in funding beyond what we've already identified to them. I think Finley's indicating they may be back in the book.
I'm going to throw this out, and I know you're going to hit me over the head, but with the baseball bat. But we really have a second town center that's being created, and that's over on Continental with all the new apartments. The whole, you know, I don't even know. It's probably 1,000 apartments that have been created. Everything that's going on over there with industrial activity. And we don't even think of that area for sidewalks. And there's a lot of bicycling, there's a lot of walking, there's a lot of jogging that goes on. Those companies are a big tax base for the town, including the apartments. If you counted up all the money that's paid by that group of people over there, it's probably a lot more than we generate in this quote unquote town center. And we don't talk at all about that. And I think it's a safety issue, honestly, because there's parts of that area that are not that safe to navigate. And I don't know when we're ready to start talking about that subject. And it's late, but I wanted to throw that out.
Well, it's fair to throw it out. The thing about it is, it's not part of the town center as was defined in our charter.
I know, but it's a
So-
big part of our town, and it represents a big population now.
It is. And we could ask to expand our scope since we've run out of projects here. I don't know how that would go over to make this committee's town center bigger, because right now it's very clearly defined in the charter that we were given to work with.
I mean, we welcomed all those apartments to go in because we thought they would generate a lot of tax money and not generate a lot of kids going to schools and so forth.
Well, it depends if the planning
But-
board holds them to account to what they've presented in the first place. There's a commercial component to it. Restaurants and other activity things that can go on in the outlets, of course, up the hill. But there's always the chance that they're going to be trying to get more apartments in there, and it takes away that component that I think is important to the project as a whole. But I don't sit on the planning board, and so I'm not sure what they'll do. It is outside of the purview of the committee, but I understand what you're saying.
It's a
And what I was going to tell Nelson is it's a balancing act for the council, quite frankly. It's, you know, and it's, the worst thing that we could do, that, I'm speaking for myself as a counselor, the worst thing that I think we can do is to have tax rates start going crazy, and, because then people start digging in and start saying no. And, because it never goes down, unfortunately, it just never goes down. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, now we've got the inflation impact on top of not being able to get employees to do services that we need in town, and so that it's all a big balancing act, trying to put the puzzle all together to make it work. And that's why, I mean, that's why I'm very thankful that this project is going to incorporate a lot of the sidewalk at the north end of the town center.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll, you know, we'll get that accomplished. But it's,
But you might need to start thinking about density. I mean, if you look at the density in, let's call it the potential for walkability, bicycling and all that sort of thing. If you drew a circle over at Tractor Supply and did a density study versus if you drew a circle over on Continental Boulevard and did a density study, I think you'd be shocked as to how many more people are over on Continental Boulevard than there are in the Tractor Supply region. And, you know, I don't know if people are thinking that way, but, you know, that's a big part of our town. And I think we want to, I think we want to be sensitive to other parts of town. I know we talk about like these developers come in and we let them off the hook for sidewalks, you know, and they give us a compelling argument as to why they don't need sidewalks or why they should get a waiver, but we let them off the hook. And then we sit here and we say, well, geez, we don't have the money to spend on sidewalks, but wouldn't it be nice? So I'm venting.
you
Yeah,
know, I
no,
appreciate it.
Can I say something? I think we're way off topic here. I think this is a big topic that Bill's introducing, and I think we should table it and address it as a separate line item because it's actually frustrating me.
Yeah. I'm all for that. If everybody agrees to that, we can move on. And I'll put it on as an agenda item for next time. The one last thing I wanted to mention was the a date for our next meeting, which is probably February or March. I don't know if any particular, we've all got new calendars provided by the town council.
I didn't know that.
What?
I didn't know we provided those. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, there was here. I presume they had.
Somebody put them there. I just appeared.
We've got, oh, yeah, January is there. Today is the 5th. And we go into February. I have no particular issues on any Friday in February. One thing I did want to mention, and it's on the agenda, was whether we're going to support the winter carnival this year. We half supported it last year because it was outdoors. Turned out to be a beautiful day, and so, yeah, Kyle, okay? You okay? It was outdoors, and we were lucky in that it was a nice day. But if it's indoors, it's easy for us to support it. Outdoors, we didn't have a booth, and it wouldn't be too convenient to have one. The wind blows things around in the cold, and so I don't know if the council wants to take any position, or we want to wait and see. Maybe I can find out if and when there is. I know there is one, and it's probably around the 25th of February. And
I
we
think it is the 25th,
it
the
is.
Winter Carnival.
Yeah, okay. So my suggestion would be that if we're going to support that, we have it sometime before that date so we can organize ourselves for it. We can go the 17th or the 24th maybe as dates for a next meeting.
You mean the 10th or the 17th, right? Because the 24th would be the day before.
Well, yeah, we could do it the day before would be a little hard. And, so, yeah, say 10 or 17. I'm open on both of those days.
10th would work for me, the 17th
10th
is
is
a
better.
lot.
Yeah, 10th is better for me too.
10th of February. Let's try.
The 17th's the only day I can make, but maybe you don't want me here anyways.
No, you brought up a subject we're gonna postpone to.
I won't be in town on the 10th,
Okay,
so, but go ahead,
well, why not, why don't we do it the 17th?
because
Should-
these,
Or
these
did-
they can't
I
make
won't
it.
be here. the
Oh, you won't
17th.
be, they won't be here on the 17th.
You can table that other discussion until March if you want to.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that would work.
okay. So then we can, if that's the case, then we can have our meeting on the, what did we say, the 17th? We
10th.
can,
The 10th.
the 10th. Okay.
Alright.
10 February.
And it is.
That's a month away. You all okay with that?
That works for me.
But you're not here.
I will not be
You'll
here.
not be
I
here.
will be in Austin, Texas.
Okay. We could all fly down. Yeah. We do it by Zoom. No.
I mean, I could potentially do it by Zoom or just a phone.
I think
Yeah,
it's
good.
just better, it works better in person.
Go ahead and have the meeting.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
February 10th. Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Okay.
And then that settles and meanwhile, we'll find out. We said the winter carnival is
Okay.
on the 25th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
I accept motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? It's getting short. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Well, thank you.